Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 86 in Revelation. Thanks for being with me. Today is Pearly Gates and Golden Streets. So here's kind of the big idea, is we get to actually go be with God permanently, physically. And then John is describing this place as best as he can. It's a physical place. It's protected. It has great security. We're kept there. And we're enjoying the pleasantness of the glory of God and the persons of God. His charge earlier was for us to be like a bride who gets ready for this and prepares. And one of the ways that we prepare is we know about this. So just the fact that we know about heaven is the start of preparation. So learning about it, knowing about it, and then going a little bit further and anticipating it and enjoying it. And I hope that's what we're going to do today, is entrust ourselves to the reality of heaven that we are going to enjoy. So we're going to keep this prophecy by believing it and imagining it and putting it into our head and kind of reveling in it. So our readiness for it, in one sense, is thinking about it and anticipating it. We're in Revelation chapter 21, and I'm going to start in verse 15, and then we'll skip down to 21 here in a second. And the one who spoke to me had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city and its gates and its walls. The city lies 4 square, its length the same as its width. We're not quite sure about the height. And he measured the city with its rod, 12,000 stadia. Its length and width and height are equal. We're not sure about the shape. Could be a pyramid, could be a cube. And he measured its wall 144 cubits by human measurement, which is also the angel's measurement. And then down to verse 21. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls, each of the gates made of a single pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. So the angel has a measuring rod, and he's kind of marking out what belongs to God, this new place of God. And most scholars think this is a cube. So 12,000 stadia by 12,000 stadia by 12,000 stadia. The cube has some history in the original temple in 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 20. It says the inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits high, and 20 cubits wide, and he overlaid it with pure gold. He also overlaid an altar of cedar. So God can dwell in whatever shape he desires, certainly, and he's prepared this place not only for the people of God, but he's prepared this place for himself. That blew my mind when I thought about this. But that there's going to be plenty of space for all the saved. He's prepared this for us. He's prepared it for him. The cube is an ancient symbol of perfection. And people are going to have immortal, resurrected bodies. Some imagine that we're not going to be affected by gravity, which is why this three-dimensional a cube might be appropriate, so we can travel vertically in this as well. So how big is it? So a stadia is 607 feet, basically 2 football fields long. And 12,000, those lined up, is 1,380 miles, which if you go from the diagonal distance of the United States, it's about half the distance from New York City to L.A. John 14:2 says, in my Father's house, which I think is what we're describing here, this is at the Last Supper, in my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you that I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself. And that where I am, you may be also. And I think that's a great description of this heavenly place. So some people say it's the language of symbolism and it's not literal. But then he double checks it with an angel and kind of seems to go extra distance to describe this. It has really thick walls, 72 yards, 72 meters thick. There have some of this jasper jewel in it, either 100% made out of it or perhaps inlaid with this jasper material. And then here in verse 21, you've heard of the pearly gates. So the 12 gates were 12 pearls, each of the gates made of a single pearl. And pearls obviously have a natural beauty, and they must be very big. These are big pearls. Certainly we could call them the pearls of great price. Like everything there, everything is fantastic. Everything is superb, which is one of my points today. And then the streets are gold. So this reminds me of the old joke where, you can't take it with you, but one guy approaches the pearly gates and meets St. Peter at the pearly gates, and he's pushing a wheelbarrow full of gold. And Peter yells out to Jesus, says, "Hey, look, this guy here, he brought pavement." And so in verse 21 it says, "The street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass." And this, again, in 1 Kings chapter 6, has history that the floor of the house he overlaid with gold in the inner and outer rooms. So it does have some reference to the old temple and to the old history. All right, so in summary, this is a place of great protection. We're protected by walls, but you don't need them because the security of the place is the opposition is gone. They have been sent away permanently from this place. An identity is retained, and individual collective identities are there. Different spiritual creatures retain their distinctiveness. Angels stay angels. People stay angels. History is not forgotten, but it's kind of documented and celebrated and literally plastered on the wall. It's a place of great love and intent. This is the culmination of long eras of planning and thought. And here it's a place where Jesus is honored, the Lamb is honored, the Father is honored, the Spirit is honored. It's a place of great value. Even the toolbox stuff is full of gold. Everything is superb. Everything is pure and shiny and golden and glassy and radiant, and even the streets. So remember this description. It's interesting. It's like someone have gone to the Grand Canyon and trying to describe it to you. But here's the thing. We will see this someday, maybe soon, maybe not quite soon. And you can give your own report, and you can describe it in your own way about the walls and the color and the occupants. And you can honor the Lamb, and you can describe what it's like to be with God. And we can describe what the presence of God is like to be with man. This is a place where we're not just imagining, but it's a place where we actually get to go. Thanks for listening.